Well, welcome y'all to Shade in the City. It's your girl Trees here, and if you know, you know. Okay. And we are here for season 1, episode 45 of Beyond the Gates. Um, and this was a I can't wait for tomorrow, y'all. I was literally on the edge of my seat. I was live skying. If y'all ain't following us on the blue sky, you need to go do that. Okay. But it was a lot, so let's hop right into it. I just can't even contain myself. Let's get shady. Oh, she said, take your time. What's the rush? Hey, said to he a dog, he a mutt. Hey. Woo! Okay, y'all. So we start this. I'm gonna just let y'all know in advance. I left off a lot of fluff and stuff. Okay, and I still got 5 page notes. Okay, but we open up this episode. Nicole's looking at this wedding album, and Ted walks in singing her praises about how he was so nervous that day when they got married, or when they met actually, or was it when they got married? One of those days. But he's just happy and lucky that she chose him. And I said, you better say it, just laying it on thick. And so Nicole is just like curious, like, okay, well, what's gotten into you? But she's been wondering this for a while. So, and clearly we know Nicole ain't hip to, listening to her senses. Okay. Now, Eva has on her dress ready for the party. She looks absolutely amazing. I gotta give her things. We see she's having a flashback to Ted telling her that she's welcome in their family. And so Five Guys comes home in her Sherry wig and her banquet server attire. And I said, oh no, not again. And she plans to get there early so she can find a place to hide in the country club until she's ready to drop the news. She's getting pleasure out of the thought of Ted's downfall. And, it's going to be the hands of his own daughter. And so, of course, she's eating this up. And Eva's like, I'm only doing what you're telling me to do. So Five Guys like, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. You're being modest. None of this could have happened without you. And I said, well, actually, Five Guys, Leslie, Sherry, Anna, Lulu, Dana, it was actually you running Laura off the road that got us here. But okay. So she's excited, and Eva isn't feeling it. Five Guys tells Eva that look, they don't have time she ain't got time for this conscious nonsense that she's trying to do right now. And she lets Eva know that, you're gonna do what you're told tonight. All right. And so y'all, Eva reluctantly agrees with tears in her eyes. I felt so bad for that baby. This whole episode. I mean, I've been feeling bad for Eva because her mama crazy as all get out. But I really felt for her in this episode because I guess it's like, what do they call that? Stockholm syndrome? Like she's been a victim of Leslie's manipulation for so long that she can't even escape it. Like, even though she knows it's wrong, right? I don't know. Y'all drop down in the comments. Let me know. But anyway, Anita, so she's coming down. They're at their house. She's coming down to make sure Vernon has completed his speech, and Kat is there looking amazing as well. I will say, everyone, only person, and I would love to know your thoughts. I think Danny looked good. I didn't like her dress, y'all. I don't know if it was the little frillies on it. It looked like little, like that garland. It looked like she had garland, like pieces of garland on her dress, but they were like different colors, and I don't know. I ain't like it. I didn't like the dress that Danny wore, but she looked good though. But I just didn't like Danny's dress. Um, so but Kat looked good. So Vernon is telling her how impressed Ted would be, with her speech because he dotes on her, and so Vernon says that Nicole did a better job at basically picking a husband than Danny did, and Anita basically cuts him off and is like, "Look, we're not gonna do that tonight, okay? Simmer down." And I was like, Vernon, the nerve. Usually it's Anita talking like that. I was like, okay, I guess y'all. That's why y'all balance each other, right? However, they were talking about going to plan to check on Danny, and see how, she's handling things. Obviously with the dissolution of her marriage, but Kat lets them know that Chelsea is already on it. So then we cut over to Danny's, and Chelsea tells her mama that, if the party is gonna be too much, we could stay home. I'll stay home with you. We can sit here, we can eat some ice cream and watch Baldwin Hills like we used to do. And if she would have said Laguna Beach, I might have been on her level, but I feel like I was not too old, but I feel like by the time Baldwin Hills came on, I wasn't interested, if that makes sense. Like I was above that age group because I feel like then they was in high school and I feel like I was older than them by then. But anyway, sidebar, sorry. So anyway, Danny said, "Look, I'm good. Don't worry about me. Thank you. But I have no plans on bailing on my big sister." And so once Chelsea is out, we learn the reason why she was so busy trying to get her out is because Andre is waiting on her to get in the shower. And I said, rub my hands like Birdman, bitch. I would have been gone. Chelsea would have been lucky if I answered the door, but I know Chelsea probably got a key. So then Nicole, back in Nicole's house, Nicole lets Ted know that after the party, they can go back to their imperfect marriage and love each other anyway, which I thought was beautiful. And I hope that she's able to love him anyway. Okay. Eva tells Five Guys that, and then we jump over to Eva and Five Guys. And so Eva is trying to tell her that, look, I understand that Ted needs to come clean, but I don't think that we should be the ones to expose him. And Five Guys has to remind her, Ted left me pregnant and ran me out of town and threw money at me to disappear. And now, after all these years, he's trying to do the same thing. And so Eva's like, look, I get it and I understand, but I just don't think you should go about it in this way. And then, of course, Five Guys does what she does best and manipulates Eva and asks her, well, are you siding with them? If it's us versus them, who you think gonna win? I'm sorry. Migos. I'm sorry. I am a Migos fan. Okay. So yeah. And of course Eva's like, nah, I got you, I'm with you. So the tangle webs we weave, y'all. Tangle webs we weave. All right. So Danny is off getting ready, and she has a flashback to her getting ready for an event, and Bill comes to assist her with zipping up her dress. Bill wants to get it on, but Danny refuses to be late. And then when she comes out of the flashback, we realize that it's actually Andre sitting there waiting for her. And so Danny tells him that, I need you to stop looking at me like that in front of other people. And Andre wants to skip the party and get back into what they was doing before. And Danny, and I saw the name on Blue Sky. DeAndre, is it DeAndre? Is that what y'all calling Danny and Andre? Because I like that. I like that. DeAndre. I like DeAndre together. Well, Danny tells him, well, Nicole and Ted are depending on you for the photos, so that's not gonna work. And second, Chelsea would be running over here as soon as the event was over to come check on me, so that's not gonna work either. And she also says that and then they have a conversation about whether they're ready for people to find out about them. Andre tells her he's good with whatever she wants. And so Danny says, well, you know what? Let's table this conversation. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting, y'all, because Carlton is fine. But I don't know, with all the melee and everything going on. And I'm starting to feel like we're going to get there. But I feel like Carlton might try to holler at Nicole now that her marriage ain't working. We'll get there, y'all. But Carlton is fine. Okay. Y'all drop your comments on what you thought about Carlton. I said, can we, how many fine black men can we have in one building? Jesus. Okay. Now, he must have been a fraternity brother. I bet he was. Anyway, so that's probably why he's still single. Back over at the Dupree household, Anita and Vernon ask Kat about Tomas. She's very vague at first, and then they're like, no, 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 no. What you're not gonna do? We need details. That's Anita for you. Like I told y'all, that's that grandmother. So she lets him know, look, he's working his way up as partner at Bill's firm. Anita says they won't hold that against him, but Vernon says, I don't share that sentiment. So Vernon asks if he's a man of integrity, and Kat kind of pauses. So Vernon wants to dig more, and they want clarification. And so Kat tells them about Tomas asking her to do something. She didn't get into details, thank God, but she, says that she said no, and then he apologized for asking her and said that he would never do anything like that again. And she does believe he's a good person, and Vernon likes that she has such high standards. Kat talks about how she obviously has had her parents to look up to and thinks their relationship is just all that more, right? So she wants the same. She doesn't plan to settle. And so basically Vernon tells her, well, yeah, you make sure you make Tomas prove that he's worth it. And I said, you damn right, Vernon, because Tomas is not worth it. I can tell you right now. Kat asked what their thoughts were on her father when they first met him. And Vernon said, well, I when I met him, I felt like he was going to be my future son-in-law. And she was like, well, why do you say that? And he was like, because that's what your mama came home and said. Like, she was sure out the gate. She was sure that was her man, her man, her man. Okay. Rita says, and, unfortunately, Nicole was right. Y'all, and I understand, and this is good writing. I'm not even going to hold you. Shout out to the writers on this. This whole episode was amazing build up for egg on your face at the end. Like literally this whole episode they spend talking up Ted and Nicole. And I mean they've been building us up, but I mean they really overwhelmed us. And it's because it's the anniversary party, right? But yeah, they built us up just to knock us down, didn't they? And I know some of y'all happy about it, but we're gonna get there. Just wait. Just wait, okay? Anita talks about how he's such a wonderful husband and father, and almost like the son that they never had. Now, back at the Richardson home, Ted presents Nicole with a necklace that apparently matches the earrings that he bought for her or gifted her after having Kat. Of course, she loves the gift, and he puts it on her. Meanwhile, down at the country, back at Five Guys' house, a little apartment, she gives Eva with this like choker, and just goes on about how much she deserves that, and because she didn't get it. And Eva just tells her like, look, I just feel like this is so wrong. And Five Guys is like, no, what it is, it's like, so let me tell you, it's like a roller coaster. You start off and it's scary at first, but by the end, I said, it's not we. But she said at the end of it, you'll be having fun. I said, Lord have mercy. And she'll eventually enjoy the ride, right? So Eva doesn't like the fact that Ted and Nicole's marriage will be ruined. And Five Guys isn't concerned about that and says Ted would have lost Nicole either way. She didn't break any vows. I say, well, plus he gains a daughter that is worth more than a bunch of them put together. She wishes he would have hired a videographer so she can watch his pain over and over. I said, And Eva tries to convince them, look, or convince her mama rather, you ain't got to do this. You really don't have to do this. And so Five Guys grabs her by the arm and whisk her away to the country club. No, I just feel like at this point, Eva's big and grown. Like we saw later that she's clearly strong. If she didn't want to go, if she didn't want to show up, or at least arrive with her, but I guess she feels like I have to keep an eye on her to keep her from doing what she about to do. I don't know, y'all. Because I feel like Eva could have ran out, left her, and went and exposed to the. This is how I would have done it. And I know y'all ain't gonna like it, but this is how I would have done it. I would have made Eva run over to Nicole and Ted's before they got to the party and tell them about the plot. Now they would have had questions and all these other things, and the secret still would have came out, but it wouldn't have given Five Guys what she wanted. That's how I would have wrote it, because I'm just petty like that. But anyway, so now we see they finally get to the country club, and Five Guys has gotten a key to the storage room. So I guess she's gonna hide in there until she's ready to make her grand entrance. She tells Eva to lock her in the room, and she'll just wait for a text from her or something like that. So this is another thing that I thought was off. Later, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm sorry, but she gives Eva a key, and this is what was weird. She gives her a key, and tells her, I'll wait for the text. Then Mona pops up, out of the blue. And she's early, but she's like, hey, what can I do to help? And so he was like, nah, you good, And so Mona's like, oh, you look so good. And I was actually talking to Leslie the other day, Five Guys, the other day, and I saw when she went on her shopping spree. And so she was like, is she okay? Is she okay? And so Eva's like, well, why do you ask? And she was like, because she just seemed a little emotional and intense, the last time I've seen her. And she was like, oh, she just gets like that, she when she started thinking about losing her husband or whatever, or since she lost her husband. So then they move on and they go because the doors are opening for the party. Now Chelsea is in there live streaming the event when Grants walk in with Kat. Chelsea lets them know that Danny is on her way. Andre is there, and he lets Eva know that the video for Ted and Nicole is ready whenever she's ready to play it. I wonder if we're ever even gonna get to see that video. But anyway, so he talks about how highly they speak of Eva, and Eva's like, well, they've done a lot for me as well. And so Andre says that, well, that's what Nicole and Ted do. They look out for others and make them feel like family. And this is what I was talking about. They just bigging them up. Bigging them up. It was terrible. So Kat is walking around the country club looking for Five Guys with Chelsea. They ended up stopping right in front of the storage closet and having a conversation. Kat is sure that, I know she's going to be here. And when I tell you, it was, as a viewer, it was killing me because I was like, you're right. You're right. Just go through the door. But and she's like, I know this heifer gonna be here, and she probably gonna show up in one of them dollar store wigs looking shifty. I said, yes, Kat. Yes. I love me some Kat. I really do. Chelsea tells her, look, I know how you feel, because she explains everything to Chelsea, but she said, regardless, you ain't got no proof. And and she's like, and why do you think out of all the times that they would want to do it now on this night of all nights? And so Kat was like, because Eva, this whole party was Eva's idea. And when I tell you that girl was right, and to see that, it's sad because it's like she can't even get the vindication because she's so hurt. Oh, y'all, you would have thought I was at the event. The way my heart was dropping, y'all. Okay. So anyway, finally, Martin walks up and interrupts and jokes with Kat about her speech. And so then he gets a group text that the parents have arrived. So they go to obviously greet them. Danny walks in and, obviously greets Nicole. Nicole tells her that she never forgot the advice that she gave her before she had Kat. And Danny's like, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. And she was like, oh, when you told me about prioritizing my husband, and that's how we were able to get here. And we all know that was a big thing. Yeah, she tells Danny to show her appreciation and how proud she is of her recovering from Bill. She would like to, introduce her to maybe, let her know that some of Tag's single colleagues is here, Carlton. And she wants to introduce her. And that's when Andre rolls up and asks to take a photo with him. And I said, Andre ain't gonna let that happen. At least I wouldn't hope not, because I like DeAndre. But I don't know, maybe we do need her to get even though Danny likes hunching on him, I don't think she sees him as a grown man. Like, I don't think she respects Andre as a grown man. Mona rolls up on Eva and notices that something's wrong. And, she's like, what's up? And Eva says, she just gets emotional seeing, their family and friends all get together to celebrate their love. And so Mona warns her, well, you better get your tissue ready because there's no family kinder than the Richardsons. Eva tells her, you know what, you're right. And, I got to run off to do something. And we know she do. So Danny then shares with her parents that her and Pamela have decided they're opening a modeling agency, and she's wanting something for herself. And well, Vernon, and so they're very happy for her and pleased that she's obviously putting her attention and motivation somewhere else. And Vernon tells her, yeah, you deserve to do something for yourself, which I don't know if y'all noticed the look that Anita gave Vernon, but I absolutely think Anita took that as shade from Vernon, because we know he's pushing her to do this whole singing thing and go along with this record producer or whoever he is, from promoter, whoever he is. But I low-key think he want a piece of Anita, but that's just my opinion. Now, Kat rolls up on Eva, trying to get into the storage closet. So she was curious why she's out there and not in the party that she planned. Eva lies and said that, oh, well, they need more table linens. And so Kat reminds her that, oh, it's so nice that you've done so much for the people that were so kind to you and treated you like family. I say, here we go again. Constantly reminding her. And so Kat says that, I would hate to see them be disappointed. And so at this moment, Kat tries to barge in the storage room, but of course finds nothing. So that means Five Guys is wandering around a country club somewhere. And she lets Eva know before she leaves, look, I'm really just only looking out for my parents. Okay. I I do got beef with you, but I really don't yet. But I'm really just looking out for my parents. Okay. So Nicole then rolls up on Ted and, she's like, oh, do you still wish we would have, skipped this for St. Bart's? And, he's like, he wants to be where she is. And I was like, oh, it's just so cute. And as Five Guys watches in the distance, it was just so hard, yo. It was hard. I ain't gonna say I wanted to shed a tear, but like I said, my heart dropped a few times. I done got emotionally connected to this damn family. All right. So Danny approaches Eva and she's like, oh, have you ever thought about modeling? And she tells her, you know what? And Eva's like, well, no. And she's like, well, you know what? Tell Nicole to give you my number and let's talk. I'll be in touch. And so then Ted greets his friend. That's when we meet Carlton. Hey, Carlton. We meet Carlton, who compliments him on, keeping his marriage together after all these years. Um, then we see Kat, and Ted just talks about, oh, when you learn to love and it's just forever, and just all the stuff he was saying. Like I said, I ain't gonna give y'all too much fluff, okay? Kat sits down with Mona and talks about how great the party is, but I love again Kat on her investigative, you know, investigation PI stuff. All right. Mona says this party has been Eva's baby and brings up, look, I know you're not too fond of her. And Kat says, oh, no, that's all over now. We good. And then she starts digging on information about Leslie. I said, you better, girl. I love how she worked that. So Nicole and Ted then go over to Eva and thank her for her hard work. Ted tells her that he and Nicole want to offer her to pay for training to become a medical assistant. Once she gets her degree, then she can come work at his practice. Did I understand that right? Said, well, I said, Eva over here, you get a job. You get a job. Everybody trying to give Eva a little check. And I said, and so of course Eva is in shock. And at this time, she's like, I really got to put a stop to this. So she's like, I'm gonna get back to y'all. So then we see her run and she drags Five Guys back into the closet because even Five Guys like, damn, you strong. And so she's like, I'm sorry, I know I stepped away from the plan. And Eva's like, look, I can't do it. So then Five Guys ask her, oh, so you're choosing their side. And so Eva tells her, look, if you knew how good the Richardsons were, they don't have to accept her, but they like her. And Five Guys laughs at her and she's like, oh, you silly rabbit. And she said, you've been fooled into actually thinking that they give a damn about you. And so Eva says, Ted, she knows Ted and he considers her family. So she knows that he'll accept her, and she wouldn't let anyone run Five Guys out of town again. And so she's like, so can we just please handle it my way? Well, Five Guys goes to embrace Eva and then acts like Cat is coming. And she's like, oh, we gotta go. And then throws Eva, I won't say throw, but pushes her into the storage closet and locks the door because somehow she got the key. And that's what I was gonna ask. When Eva came to, where did this key go? Now Nicole gets a call from Doug saying that he and Vanessa won't make it because I think they got food poisoning. Carlton comes up to greet Nicole and congratulates her on her many years of marriage. And I don't know, I feel like Carlton might be got an eye for Nicole, if you ask me. But so she tells him that he might be able to find his special someone at the party, and he's like, I don't know, unless it's you. Okay. So then they cut over to Kat, who's still obsessing about Leslie Anna, and tells Chelsea that she found out from Mona that Leslie liked to wear wigs and has been acting strangely. So she knows Eva has something to do with it. And then she notices that Eva is conveniently missing at this time. All right. Now, here we go. So Eva is now behind the door of the storage closet. As we know, the lock is so she can't get out. And so she's screaming for help when Carlton conveniently comes by and hears her trapped in the closet. Okay. And then he's going to go and, of course, get her some help. Ted goes over to Andre before things kick off and lets him know that thanks him for letting him get that burden off his chest and said that he's ready to move forward. Then Ted lets everyone know, look, take your seats, and then he gives Nicole an introduction. It was beautiful. Of course, he spoke so highly of her. He tells Nicole that he feels the same way he did when he met her years ago, and they give their thanks to everyone. And then Ted wants to give thanks to Eva, who was still stuck in the closet, but they, they're like, oh, she's probably still busy doing something. So Carlton finally gets Eva out, and she runs to try to stop Five Guys. Now, as Nicole is giving a speech about how she felt for Ted and Maui, and Eva comes in, and Kat asks her, well, where the hell you been? And she grabs her by the arm, and they start tussling, and she's like, oh, let me go. And, she's like, I gotta stop this. And so Kat's like, stop what? And so Eva runs into the middle of the floor, and she's like, tells Ted and Nicole that y'all need to go. Y'all need to go right now, ASAP, get out. So, Ted and Nicole are like, is this a part of the surprise? I don't understand. That's when Five Guys is sitting there. She said, oh, no, no, no. They can't do that. I said, oh, too late. So, and then I love when Ted sees her. He said, hell no. I said, this is so respectfully Black. I love it. Okay. And Nicole recognizes her as Sherry and asks if she's confused. And so Five Guys says, oh, no, no, no. There's no confusion. She said, I'm not the one confused. She said, but you're confused about him. I said, oh. And so Ted tells her that, look, you need to go. Nicole ain't done nothing to you. And Nicole leans over and she's like, oh, so you know this crazy bitch. That's why you didn't want me talking. Oh, okay. And so Five Guys tells Ted to tell Nicole, well, why don't you tell her how we know each other? Ted tells her, look, you were supposed to leave town. And the way Nicole looked at him, and then Vernon sitting there flabbergasted, like, what is going on? The whole time, Eva is pleading with her, please don't do this. Like, I felt you could just see her in the background, like sad, like, because there's no coming back from this. She's in the middle of it. She tried to stop it, and then Five Guys comes in. I felt bad for that baby. Like I said, I felt bad for that baby this whole episode. So Nicole asked if, can somebody get her some help, please? And Five Guys tells Nicole she's the one that's going to need some assistance. So Ted tells Dana that Nicole has done nothing to her. Then Nicole asks, well, how many damn names do she got? And I said, 5 for right now. Okay. 5. But and Five Guys tells her, I got as many faces as Ted has. I said, ooh. And so then Kat tells Mona, I feel like I'm about to lose my family. And I felt so bad for that baby too. Okay. And then Five Guys asked Ted if he plans to tell Nicole who she is or should she. And then Nicole just looks at Ted. And I said, you know what? This was a great episode. Okay. I don't know what y'all thought, but I ain't gonna hold you. I rated a hard 10. Hard 10. I can't wait to see tomorrow. Absolutely loved it. It was awesome. I'd love to know your thoughts. I definitely think this is what we were waiting for, and I literally can't wait to see the outcome. But thank you guys for showing up and support me. If you have not already, please make sure that you've hit that like button. Make sure that you comment. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's the TikTok, the Blue Sky, because like I said, I be live skying. What else did I say? The TikTok, the Blue Sky, the IG, and the Facebook. And yeah, I will catch y'all. I will definitely catch y'all tomorrow, okay? Because I'm thirsty. Even though I got water, I'm thirsty. I'll catch y'all tomorrow for episode 46 of Beyond the Gates. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.